this super high frequency when you're having fun. It's the super high frequency when you're doing what you love to do. It's this super high frequency. And to break this matrix, it's about staying on those super high frequencies. You know, we can be at a super high frequency and then you'll joke down a little bit. And it'll be super high and it'll joke down. And it's like an on and off balance. So you got to ask yourself, you know, what's creating that on and off balance? All right. And that on and off balance that's being created is coming from the fact that we are in a spiritual warfare right now. And it's been spiritual warfare since their year 1492. All right. The book that was written about this fallen angel, this fallen God, it's called the Bible or religion, and they fragmented these stories about this spirit, this spiritual being that's a real live thing, that's a real live force, not just a name. And the name they gave him in their Bible was Satan, right? But when they gave him that name, it cast fear into the reader, because it made the reader believe that Satan has a lot of power. It gave him his own home, his own little realm that they call hell, which is where you go if you disobey Jesus Christ. We don't want to really talk too much about Jesus Christ, but his name will come up today because Jesus and Satan and Zeus is the same individual. But you have to understand that Zeus is a very, very powerful, one of the most powerful of the gods. I mean, I've spoken about him. How can we not speak about him? That's who we at war with. You know, no matter what's coming to you, anytime it's a negative situation, most of that energy is coming from attacks that are being sent at you from Zeus. But he sends these attacks at you through his army. He doesn't do anything on his own. This is why you'll see the people that follow him, which we call oppressors down here on this physical realm, the 13 families and these elite, the shadow government, the cabal. If you notice, when they do things, they hide their hand. Well, who did they learn that from? They learned that from Zeus, right? If you notice, what's the main way that they have gained power on our planet? Majority of their power came from them lying to us. So let's look under a lie. What is a lie? A lie is deception. All right. Now, if you look up Sun Tzu's Art of War, they will tell you in their book that the art of war is deception. I repeat that again. Let me bring that back. All right. Lying is not looked at with the spiritual eye as it's supposed to be, because it's one of Zeus's biggest weapons. You get what I'm saying? So, a lot of times, individuals fail to realize or fail to understand that when someone lies to you, they are deceiving you. Now, understanding equilibrium in the space around you, you have no room to be lied, to be misled, to be deceived, because how do you know where you're going if I'm deceiving you? So that means if you need to go downtown Kentucky, you ask me the directions. I tell you that to go downtown, keep going east, when I know goddamn well that you need to go west to get downtown. That's not small. Deception is not a small thing. I done just sent you way out of your way behind some deception. So this is they learned that tactic. I say that to say this. They learned that powerful tactic from Zeus. He's the father of lies. He's the father of deception. So, but to understand how we came to get in this war at this state, you have to understand that at one point in time, it was all love. As above, so below. So you had the astral realms full of all different type of powerful cosmic beings. These beings were known as primordial energy. All right. You have dark matter energy, plasma energy. These are the forces of the cosmos, but they are entities. They are alive. You had us, the Anunnaki gods and goddesses. You know, the controller of the forces, the creators of the Ashe that binds everything all throughout the entire multiverse. Okay? So, you know, before there was time, before we are what we are today, we were all one. I told you, Zeus was one of the most well-respected scientists in our community, in our cosmic community, all throughout the multiverse. Why? Because he was the head of the original 23 scientists. The original 23 scientists were always respected all throughout the multiverse because no creation could be here without the original 23 scientists. They were the ones they were the first masculine entities ever created by the Anunnaki goddesses, by the divine feminine energy, by Source. Source is all divine feminine energy. The Council of Nine, I personally like to call them, all feminine energies. This is Source that created all souls, that created us. And the first masculine energies they ever created was the original 23 scientists. This is in the beginning. This is before Adam and Eve. Because we've spoken about this, but we don't have a lecture directly geared toward it, so we need to gear this one toward it. So it's officially a documented lecture. So you're able to go back and hear the creation story from the beginning, from one of your brothers, which is me, Rashad Jamal, Divine Insight. Because we've heard the version of creation from the Bible, and we heard the version that was created in the science community about the Big Bang Theory. So let's hear our version. The truth. The esoteric truth of us. And Source created these original 23 scientists, these 23 masculine energies, all with certain powerful skill sets that would be used to further multiply the multitude of creation. And that's what they did. But in doing that, one stood out. He was known as the big-headed scientist. In the Muslim stories, they call him Yaqub. You know, Zeus has rewritten many articles about himself through his helpers, through these reptilians and these Pleiadians, his army, his generals. It's a full-fledged spiritual war. But in the beginning, you know, when we was one cosmic community, he was well respected. There was a lot of affection out there for him, because he was the head of the original 23 scientists. Keep that number in your head. He was the head of the original 23 scientists. And I mean, these other 22, which I happen to be a member of, were very, very gifted souls. We all have our own different gifts that we brought to the multiverse, because Source created us that way. And one of our main jobs was to design the multiverse, to set up how many multiverses it would be, how many universes would be in each multiverse, how many galaxies would make up a universe, how many planets would make up a galaxy, how many planes would make up a planet, to create the intergalactic highways, or what they like to call vortexes and dimensions and portals. Those are just intergalactic highways that we created, or beads of energy to keep everything connected. You can reach any multiverse from any multiverse. Inside this multiverse, you can go to any universe, any of the 12 universes in this multiverse, because Ashe is all around you. You have a Merkaba. This is the way we anciently designed it to be. That's the Merkaba right there behind me. The energetic field that sits around you, it forms a 6-point star, or what we know of today as the Star of David. It's a metaphysical property. The original 23 scientists also created a lot of the genetic strands to create these different extraterrestrial races we have today. To create the plant life on every planet, the elements, and within those 23, Zeus was the head. So that goes to show you how intelligent he always was to be elected the head scientist. And he was well loved. He was very loved by Source. And after we created the multiverse, then this is when procreation began. These different extraterrestrial races started to be fruitful and multiply. We placed a feminine energy and a masculine energy of each race on every planet in every galaxy all throughout the multiverse. This is why it's life everywhere. We did the same thing with the elements. We gave the elements a twin too. You have the flame and you have the ember. The flame is the blue part. The orange part is the ember. Most individuals don't know that about fire though. They think that's one whole flame. But the flame is the blue part. They don't teach us that in school. That's why it's the warmest part. The orange part is the ember, which encases the flame. Two separate entities working together to give you fire. That's how deep it is. So we did that with all things. That XY chromosome that's in us as Anunnaki gods and goddesses is in every extraterrestrial race because we created it. It's also in the plants here on this planet and on every planet, not just here. We have plants on every planet that we are connected to because we left our genetic imprint in everything. So when I'm telling you about you being connected to the plant life here and the animals here, and how the saying you can cut a tree down, and those same rings that they telling you is letting you know how old the tree is, which is a lie, is exactly the same. Those rings is the same design as the rings in your crown of your head, tip of your finger, because we designed it that way. A lot of us can look in our hands and see M's. If you really look, you'll see the M. You'll be like, damn, I never noticed it's either going to be strong or light, but it's going to be there. And if it's not on both hands, it's going to be on one hand for sure. Why? Because we left our deoxyetheric acid, our genetic imprint and everything. This is why we are everything. This is why I taught you to say, I am everything and everything is me. You have to understand the way we was built in the cosmos. Zeus played a major part in it. He calls himself Satan here and many other names. But we wonder why in religion we always felt like Satan was powerful, right? You feel like, oh, he's a trickster and you better watch him, he's slick, and remember all that stuff they told you about him? Well, it was true what they told you about him. They just did you, but you just don't know who to look for. This is the fall of Zeus we talking about. So we got to talk about him before he fell and what led him to falling and certain mainstream media outlets that are being used to promote this fall. Because it's a ritual. So he know us like the back of his hand. This is why he attacks you the way he attacks you. He know how to attack you, where to attack you, to get at you. Why did he know so much? because he was there in the beginning. Remember, they told you in the Bible, Satan was God's most beautiful angel. They told you that. So when I'm telling you that it shouldn't shock you, I'm just putting the true story with the falsifications. He was. He was very respected among swords. And then as we started, after those 23 sciences was created, then we started to be fruitful and multiply. And we started to come together and create. So our souls, our energy was integrating to create more souls and more spirits. Because we are soul and spirit. So that's that two-part component, which represents a duality, represents us. This is how you look up and you get a whole species of Anunnaki gods and goddesses. This is how we got there. But at first it was just the goddesses, and then the original 23 sciences, and then everybody else started coming after that. So he has a high understanding because he was there. But he fell in frequency though. He fell. He stepped outside of himself. He went against nature. So you got to understand that. He went against nature. This is why his creations are out here. This is why his creations are out here. Hit it for another one for me. Same. Yeah, thank you. This is why his creations, they are out here against nature. When Zeus decided to start this whole war, it all sprung from him creating this energy of what we now know today as jealousy. Because he stepped outside of himself. He started looking at us crazy. He like, why I gotta praise these niggas? And fuck just praising me. I want something to pray to me. Because remember, we praising each other, we wasn't praying to each other. That's the difference. We praised each other. We didn't pray to each other. We prayed to ourselves. We connected with Source because we are all Source. We are all one. So if we are all one, there could be no power higher than you other than Source that created you. But we are Source and Source is us because we come from Source. So it was a natural order already set up. We spoke the most beautiful words to each other. Just like today. If somebody give you a compliment, it make you feel good, man. Yes, it do. Especially somebody you don't know, you feel good. Now imagine people walking up to you every single day, all day, by the thousands and hundreds of thousands, giving you good words of energy like that. It's energy. Remember, it's energy. What would it do to your vibration? It raises your vibration. And the faster you vibrate, the more you radiate, the higher you go in frequency. This is where the power is at. So this is why we were so high. We never spoke negative to one another. We never even cracked jokes on one another. We never stole from one another, lied, anything. That was nature. That's our nature. To be kind, generous, love, full of cosmic love. Not the fake love, the entity love where you got it, where you out here and how you doing crazy. No, the real divine cosmic love, full of understanding. That's our nature. We was generous with one another. Everybody was in abundance. Nobody, nothing lacked. There was no low energy of lacking. That wasn't created yet. It was true peace. Whatever you wanted, you created it. Wasn't no jobs. Wasn't no time. Whatever you want, you created it. And it's still that way in the astrals. And on every other planet but here. But it wasn't like that originally. And Zeus, he was so against nature. He became so enraged, fused with jealousy. That's the energy we will call it today. Pride. These energies. Why? Because he did not want to go with the natural flow of order. He didn't like that. He got tired of it. He wanted to go against the order, against nature. Why? I don't want to have to say anything good to you all the time. Sometimes I want to say something different. He created that. He created that. See? And as he began to put more of his energy into going against nature, he created this opposite, this split. Now you got your lower self. Because he created it when he stepped into that energy. And when he stepped into that energy, no longer did he want to be amongst his brothers and sisters, the gods and goddesses. He wanted to do his own thing. So by the time we came to this planet to build it up, he already had his own agenda set up. This is when the fall began for him, because he came down here on assignment. He was sent down here with us on an assignment to help strengthen the planet. And he came down and did something completely different. And that's what he went wrong with Source at. This is the part they teach you about when they say he was kicked out of heaven. But they don't tell you really why. But the heaven, like I always told you all, the heaven they spoke of was not the heaven up in the sky somewhere. It's right here on this planet. He came down here with other scientists and other gods and goddesses with special different abilities to help build this planet up. But he wanted to turn it to his science lab. The other realms, the other 8 realms was in full function. But right here on Atlantis, we started to battle amongst ourselves a little bit because Zeus started all this chaos. We were creating to build the planet, and anything that one of the gods or goddesses would create, Zeus, aka Satan, would come and he would tear it apart, like he do today. If you create a cow, he would go kill a cow. The cow you created, and now he then killed it, and he working on the cow in his lab to make his own little experiments. That's what he was doing, and he was doing it to the whole multitude. But he also knew the effect it would have on us. It was causing the gods and goddesses that was here frequency to lower, because we was, it would lead to different arguments amongst each other. Because it's not like when he did it, he was letting us know that it was him. You see? So when he did it, you didn't know who it was. Then it came and stole your creation. Stole your contribution back to the ancestors and the source. All that to start chaos. And then eventually we caught on. Like, oh, this nigga, it's the nigga stealing everybody and killing everybody animals. And when he was doing all that, he was doing that because he was working on his own creation, these human beings. But what was his reason for creating them? He created the human being race strictly to destroy us. You see, that was all part of him falling in frequency. He launched an attack against his brothers and his sisters. And when we caught on, we was ready to hurt him. Really do something to him. But we couldn't because he was so high ranked up. So we ended up taking him to cosmic court. You thinking court now is the real court. No, the real court is the cosmic court. They're trying to emulate the cosmic court, but on a lower frequency level. So when we took him to court, because he was ranked so high up, the source and the elders didn't want anything to happen to him. But what they did also respected where we came from and understood that what he did was wrong. It was against nature. So he was cast out to his own part of the universe. Sixth universe. His own part of the multiverse, rather. Where he could completely create his own whatever. Do whatever you want to do, free will there. But even though he was told to go to the sixth universe, the source had already still given him permission to come back and forth from the sixth universe. So that means even though he was in the sixth universe, he could have still traveled to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth, seventh, ninth, because we're in the ninth universe right here. We're located right now in the ninth universe. This is where we are located at. But he was still able to leave outside of the sixth universe after court. We had to come back to the planet. We all came back to this planet. He was told to leave. You know? Because he had little, it was a community. So he had friends here and people here that, okay, we come back. Okay, then you gotta leave. But when we got back, he didn't want to leave. This is what got him completely banned and kicked out of what they want to call heaven. This is when he got banished to the sixth universe. Because up to that point, when we came back, he still could have moved around. But when we came back, he went against a direct order that was given to him from source. They say, hey, you down there trying to destroy the planet. You're not trying to help build up the planet, so we need you to leave. We're not going to eradicate you. We're not going to banish you, but you need to leave and you go to your own universe and you have your own free will there. But when we came back, instead of him leaving, he kicked off a whole war. So when he kicked off that war, he fell in frequency. Because he kicked off the war with us. Because when he didn't want to leave, we was at odds to force him off the planet. And then that's when the war kicked off. When they tell you in the Bible that he took a third of heaven with him, he took more than that. He took 2/3 of the gods and goddesses that was here on the planet with him. It was more people fighting with Zeus against us than that was fighting with us against Zeus. 5,400 live viewers, welcome to class. But it was more people fighting with Zeus, Satan, right here on this planet, helping him than it was fighting against him when it was all said and done. That's why so many left with him. And it's imperative that you remember that a lot left with him. Remember, the war took place right here on this planet. So it was only so many of us here. Everybody else was back home on headquarters. Sirius X. So when that war kicked off here, it was a war. It was a full fight. A full-fledged fight. A very, very long, hard-fought battle But eventually we was able to get all of them off the planet. We whipped their ass, whipped their whole ass, all around the planet, all around the planet, all out into the astrals. You feel me? We in the ninth, we damn near chased them to the seventh universe. Like, cause we're fighting on a plasma energy level. So it's hard for you to probably see that, but it's realms with levels of energy that can do many things that will completely defy the laws of what they call gravity. When there's no such thing as gravity, it's really density. So if you look more into just basic physics, you'll learn about that too. They'll tell you a little bit about that, but we probably whipped their ass through 2 whole universes, and I'm not exaggerating, before they was completely, like, banished. And that's when it became known as the fall completely. Because even certain higher ancestral forces or higher cosmic forces that was back home had to come join the war, and he fought against them. So it's like he went against the whole species. Then it was like, okay, he all the way rebelled, but he took so many with him. And that's how the human beings get here, and that's how we get this reptilian Pleiadian alliance, because they did all that in the 6th universe, creating a lot of the human beings, infiltrating the reptilian species, because the reptilians wasn't a bad species originally, but when this war kicked off, a lot of species, even Arcturians who weren't bad, became possessed, if you would say, with all these different low vibrational entities, and most of these entities were working with Zeus. They were part of his army, so they didn't just take over the physical bodies of the gods here on this planet. They was taking over extraterrestrial races' bodies as well. Because remember, Zeus is one of the gods. He's a fallen god, but he's one of the gods. He's the head of the original 23 scientists. And I told you, the original 23 scientists created all these extraterrestrial races, all these different planets, all these galaxies. Just what we see is in the setup. And then after the setup was set up, then all the gods and goddesses the other gods and goddesses started coming and start to contribute. This God created this animal. This God created this mineral. This God, on. This goddess did this. This goddess, everybody start creating. As a whole, we built everything up. But the original outline was set up by the original 23 scientists. So in that 6th universe is with all that, with more rage and animosity and all this negative energy in his heart for us. It's hard for us. In the 6th universe, this is where he set that intent. And this is where these human beings were created. The ogres that you see in Shrek were created here. The vampires that you hear about in legend was created here. The werewolves that you hear of legend were created here. All this was taking place in the 6th universe. This is why it's natural for a human being to be violent, to be cannibalistic and eat each other and do that type of shit. Like we kill somebody, bury them in a wall, put them in the trunk, ride around town with them for months. Like kill them, take them to the woods, bury them. Like shit you wouldn't think about doing that we call heinous, human beings are capable of doing. Walking in the theater, shooting 39 people dead in themselves. We would never do shit like that. That's because that's a barbaric vibration. That's a part of their genome because of the DNA, the animals that's within them. Because this is what Zeus was doing. He was a mad scientist. He was big on grafting different animals and and experimenting on different species. He was a eugenicist. He was big on eugenics, which that's all about cloning and grafting and copying the genetic traits of, certain species and combining them to create new species and things of that nature. That's eugenics. That's cloning. Look into eugenics. But it goes way back further than before they created these websites about it. This is something that Zeus was doing on Narn in the 6th universe. So once he infused this energy and this mindset into the human being race, he sent them to attack us along with the reptilians and the Pleiadians. So this is where this is how you get to your story of them being on ships looking for our home planet where we are now. And they would never attack those of us that's on Sirius X because they too strong. So the weakest of us is right here on planet Kai. So they came to this planet, and they came in their year 1492, landed on our planet, came to our planet, entered our planet through portals in the Caucasus Mountains. And the rest is what they call history. You know, this is why we call them Caucasians, and they came out the portals on that energy because that's what's been infused in them. So now you got this big, and that's where you get all your back and forth over the years between your black and Latino races and the hierarchy of human beings, and you see all the animals getting killed to turn into coats, and you get this craziness and this imbalance, these emotions. Then you see drugs hit the scene, then STDs hit the scene. All this shit hit the planet that was never here. This because they infused our planet with this energy when they came to it through portals. This is their mission. This is what they came to do. All right? This is what they came to do. This is what they were created to do. You know? So that's the fall. But you need to understand how much of this they show to you. All right? They put a lot of things right in your face. Right in your face. So this is one of them. This Paramount Pictures logo, you see it? Now, this logo right here, very dangerous. It's telling about the fall of Zeus. Okay? It's telling you about the fall of Zeus. Notice that when the logo first come on, let me show it to you. If you count the stars, it's 22 stars, to be exact. Notice that they are gathered around an ancient tree stump. Remember, that's supposed to be a mountain peak, and we know that the mountains are tree stumps. Okay? But it's also in a pyramid shape because pyramids generate the most energy. All right? So, this symbol alone is all about the fall of Zeus and them conquering the planet. The 22 stars, because Zeus likes to emulate us. Remember, we had 23 original scientists. So he took 22 generals under his wing to help him run his army. All right? And the prince of the whole army is Lucifer. And the princess is Lilith. But then they got a whole bunch of generals. Whole bunch of generals. All right? So what Paramount Pictures is showing you when the movie when it come on before every movie is it's showing you how they fell in frequency and then came in and took over the realm down here. Check this out. You see it when it come on? Check it out. They descending down from the astral planes because they fell in frequency. You see it? We're going to run it back. These are the fallen gods. All right, these are Zeus's top 22 generals in his army. Notice, see them falling, see them descending down onto this realm, and now they traveling along the realm. And see, that's an ancient tree stump. They cut all the trees down during that war when they took over our planet. You see it? This is why Paramount show you that. I'll play it back one more time. This literally represents the war of us versus them, good versus evil, high vibrations versus low vibration, them falling in frequency, and then traveling back to our planet on spaceships, entering our realm through portals in the Caucasus Mountain, and then taking it over. This is why when the stars is floating like that, they look like little spaceships. They start to look like spaceships as they're floating. And when they coming down, that's them coming from the higher dimensions, the astral realms. But then when you see them traveling, that's the spaceship. That represents when they was in the spaceship coming back. And then when you see them go over the tree stump, what they call the mountains, right? So it's basically showing you how they came. They entered our realm through portals in the Caucasus Mountains. That's why they do it over a mountain. Because they came here through portals in a mountain. But the mountains is actually the tree stumps, and the trees were one of our biggest energetic sources. So this is like them mocking us when they show you this. That's what this is about. But let's go deeper. That say at the bottom, a Viacom company. Okay? So for you to understand why they even call it Paramount, let's hit Google for a second on the Mac. We over here on the Mac with it. Check this out. So, to understand why they even call it Paramount Pictures, if you look up the etymology of Paramount, it's going to tell you that Paramount literally means the highest in jurisdiction. Okay? So they call themselves Paramount because this is representing the fall of Zeus and them winning the war thus far. And they call themselves Paramount because that's their way of saying that negative vibration, or what we know as evil, is the highest. Is in the highest position on this realm right now. That's why they even call it Paramount. All right. So you got to understand that that's why they even call it Paramount. You feel me? Because Paramount literally means the highest in jurisdiction. Now let's go deeper though. If you want to look at who, you could go to Wikipedia, right? You can go to Wikipedia and you can look at the CEO Brian Robbins of Paramount. Look into who he is and what he do. Then look at who owns Paramount. Paramount is one of the biggest movie production lines out there, period. It's the top one. But guess who owns it though? Viacom. Now, Viacom also owns CBS. So let's look at CBS. Now, Viacom owns Paramount and they own CBS. Interesting. Let's look at the CBS logo. We know the CBS logo. One eye symbolism, right? Representing the third eye. But, so you have CBS with the one eye symbolism. Because when they show you the third eye, that means enlightenment. Your third eye, literally. But they got it closed, though. So that's why they mock us with the CBS logo. But Viacom owns CBS and Paramount. So you got Paramount showing you the fall of Zeus, and you got CBS showing you the all-seeing eye symbolism. This is the way. These are ways that Zeus mocks you. These are the ways the oppressors mock what they did to us, right in our faces. All right? Now, when you talking about Viacom, guess who else Viacom own? They don't just own CBS and Paramount. They get deeper. They own MTV, Nickelodeon, BET, Comedy Central, and Showtime. And the same people that own Netflix, which is their only competition, is all a part of the 13 families that own Viacom. And they also fucking with the music industry too. Viacom. You see? So, when you think you escaping him, he has his hands in all forms of this shit. And then he mocks you because you don't understand about the war. You don't remember the falling frequency. You don't know that you're in a spiritual war. This is energy. This is magic. So he mocks you by putting it right in your face with the Paramount Pictures logo, the CBS logo, and all these other different companies. And everything that he's doing is to brag about his fall and how he sent his children here to take over the children of the royal gods and goddesses, the Anunnaki. It's a whole war. It's high vibration versus low vibration. And the demons are the feminine energies in us. That's how slick he is. He taught us that the feminine energies in us that helps us fight, he called them demons, and told us that them was bad. But the devils are what's bad. The devils are the actual spirits that get into people. The energy he sends out. And you got all these principalities and all these generals, all these fallen angels, fallen gods that turned on us in the immediate war. It was not more of us. It was not more of us fighting against them in that war for the planet that made us start the fall in frequency. That first war we won. Remember, we ran them away from the planet. But they sent their children back, the human beings. And that's the war where they got us and made us fall in frequency. That's the war we still in right now. And then the third war is the Sky family coming back, which they're here now, and fighting off these last energies, which is us versus Zeus and his army, to balance everything back out. We in the third phase of the war right now. We went through the first two, we in phase 3. That's what Endgame is about. That's why understanding the fall of Zeus is very important. But peace to the gods and goddesses of planet Kai. I'll see y'all.